Over the last good few years now, I've done quite a lot of presentations. There's one that keeps getting mentioned, and it was mentioned quite recently. And so I thought, it's not available now, the recordings aren't available now, so why not redo it? Do it might be a shortened version, might be summarized, and it is definitely coming from a perspective of where I am just now. But I thought that it might be a nice idea. I thought, let's have a look back and go over the perfect beer garden. The perfect beer garden, grieving your old relationship with alcohol. If this topic triggers anything, feel free to contact me. This topic is about, well, what do we mean by grieving your old relationship with alcohol? Well, alcohol hasn't always been something that is thought of as bad. We might look at it now and regret drinking. We might look at it now and regret drinking because it's become so difficult to break that habit. A number of people have broken that habit, and that's absolutely fantastic. All credit to you. No matter how long your streak is, all credit to you, whether it be a day, whether it be a year or further. You're still trying, and that's the important thing. But when we look back, there are things related with alcohol that have been fun, that have been relatively positive, and we might have, well, I'm not even so going to might have, quite often, we've definitely enjoyed having a drink. And so that can feel, when we give it up, that can feel like we're missing something, we're missing someone, an old friend has gone. We can look back fondly at these situations, events, times in our lives, celebrations, cozy nights in, summer nights out, and it's all your old relationship with alcohol. Many of these things, the situations we've been, whether positive or negative, alcohol has been a bit of a friend or something we've viewed as a support, a crutch, a friend even. It's been things where in events, times in our lives, celebrations, any of these things where we have shared it with friends, and the alcohol quite often has become a social lubricant where feelings come out a bit more. Sometimes it can go beyond that. But I know when I used to drink way back, I really looked forward to the second pint because that's when people started really chatting and the conversation get great. Very quickly after that, it didn't get so great. It was the same story repeated over and over again, never quite getting to the end. What we're doing is we're looking back with rose-tinted glasses. The fade effect bias. The more we move away from that last hangover, the more we forget that last hangover, and the more we quite possibly remember the good parts of what happened previously. So then we get to the perfect beer garden. And I'm using this as an example because I have a strong memory of being in a beer garden with good friends, having a laugh. Conversation was brilliant. I love a good conversation. The beer was flowing, the chatter was flowing, the sun was coming down, and it was great. What more could you ask for? But the bits that I struggle to remember, but were still there, weren't so great. The sun was beating down. I'm Scottish. I burn even in the shade. Not only was I getting sunburn, I was getting dehydrated. Even with the alcohol isn't hydrating you that much. It was dehydrating you more likely. So I was getting a headache, dehydrated, not feeling so great. And by the end of it, I didn't really remember that much. Maybe at the start of the night, but not that much. Not that didn't take a lot of drink to do that. But the chances are the conversations were starting, but we were never finishing them. We'll never get into a resolve, or they would end up in another conversation. It was all good fun, but you still ended up feeling, eh, it just, we forget those things that weren't so great. And I also keep forgetting the wasps and people smoking and all sorts of things like that. The wee things that were just there, that would be there even if you didn't have alcohol. But that's another story. But what parts did I actually enjoy? I enjoyed the company. I enjoyed the company of friends. I enjoyed the conversation. And that's what I remember most. And the sunlight is really nice, as well. So how can we replicate the bits that we actually enjoyed? Well, think about the bits you actually enjoyed, those conversations, those friends. Go elsewhere. Maybe start going out for coffee. Maybe still meet open air if you want. If it's a summertime, meet open air and have lunch. Have soft drinks. Start doing more activities. Maybe go for a walk, meet in the park, that kind of thing. Basically, the perfect beer garden does not need alcohol. Tune into the things that you actually enjoyed. You don't need alcohol to meet your friends. You don't need alcohol for a good conversation. Yeah, to start with, it might seem slightly more awkward than it was with alcohol involved, but the conversation will start flowing again. There will be laughs. There will be sharing of good things and bad things. But that's what you were getting. That's the bit that was coming out of those times. The good times. The alcohol wasn't really needed for that. So moving on. Thinking of that relationship you had with alcohol. Maybe thinking of it as a relationship to a friend might give you the chance to mourn and therefore provide closure. If we keep saying alcohol was bad, and I'm not trying to defend it, but if we do that, we're pushing it away. We're not recognizing the things that were there. And if we're not doing that, then the chance of blaming ourselves, the chance of shame, the chance of guilt, that becomes stronger. Whereas if we take control by saying, well, this was a relationship I had, this was something that was a friend, but it's very much in the past, it's very much negative. Accept that the old relationship with alcohol may have had some perceived good points. And acknowledge this, but recognize that there were many more negatives. If you did the classic seesaw or the balance thing, and one side was good, one side was bad, or positive and negative, I bet the negatives will outweigh the positives. But recognizing that, yeah, the good things were there. It wasn't all bad. And that's good because, as I said, it helps you come to terms with why you drank. Because that can be something we feel very guilty of, that we even started having that drink. It may help to create a ritual or ceremony to say goodbye. The classic is writing a letter to a friend, writing a letter to a previous self. It's done in a whole load of different scenarios to do with grieving. And you can either keep it somewhere, put it somewhere, and that's it, just put it out of mind, or you can maybe make a wee ceremony around it, like putting it into a bonfire or burying it. Something that physically says to your mind, the relationship is at an end. Create new habits and events with friends and loved ones that don't involve alcohol. You can move on from that old relationship. We have all experienced times when we've had to move on from our relationship. This, in many ways, is no different. We can start building things. We can start putting new routines in. There are so many things that you could do with friends that don't involve alcohol. Visualize your life without alcohol and the positives that brings. And when you visualize, reflect on that a little bit. And when you reflect, if you feel up to it, say it out loud, talk it out loud. I feel that sometimes when we think about these things, if we just visualize that that's great, I'll reflect on it, that's great, and that's all in your head, and your head works that fast. But by verbalizing it to yourself, you don't need to say it to anybody else, but by verbalizing it to yourself, it can often make that feeling, that emotion stronger. If it gets too much, back away from it a little bit. You don't have to battle through if it's too much, but maybe come back to it another time and see how it goes. And bit by bit, you'll build that strength, you'll build that resilience. Recognize the new you. Write and rewrite what the new you looks like and feels like. A few weeks after becoming alcohol free, you'll start to feel a bit better. A few months, you'll feel even better still, and you may have started new habits or new hobbies or whatever. A few years into it, you might be looking at a completely different way of living. Everybody goes at things in their own pace. We not just write the new us, we rewrite it. And it's okay to do that. When we start being alcohol free, we may think that the goal is to become alcohol free so that we can do something in our lives. But once we become alcohol free, we might see more depth in that, and that can bring something else out. There's no harm in changing your goal as you move forward. There's no harm in deciding that what you thought you wanted to do isn't actually what you wanted to do. To finish off, it's okay to smile and remember the past, but it is the past. And as I used to do in a lot of presentations, a wee quote, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. And that was Kierkegaard. Hopefully you've enjoyed this revisit of an old presentation. If there's anything, stick them in the comments and I'll try and answer what I can. But thanks very much. And hopefully I'll see you around soon. Thanks.